It's 2893. The first extrasolar human colony has gone dark. The United Earth Space Council wants to protect its assets. Everyone else wants a piece to themselves. Mega corporations and political parties have sent out runners, mercenaries who transfer their consciousness into shells, synthetic biocybernetic forms to scavenge data, valuables, whatever you can get your mitts on. You'll be fighting the UESC and your fellow runners for scraps at the table. Bleed your navy blue and put a bullet in anything else you see. And maybe you'll survive here on Tau Ceti 4. Marathon is a weird game, the first entry in the Marathon series since 1996, helmed once again by Bungie, now famous for the original Halo trilogy and Destiny. The original Marathon trilogy had a lot in common with Halo, single-player sci-fi FPS campaigns with increasingly fleshed out multiplayer modes. If it dates Marathon more, it was part of Bungie's attempt to take over the Mac OS market, which famously has had a huge drought in major game releases compared to PC. So why now? The new Marathon is an extraction shooter, a genre that didn't exactly exist as we think of it now when Marathon was first made. You and some friends or randoms team up for objective-based gameplay. Marathon's biggest strength is how it contextualizes its existence as an extraction shooter. If the term seems unfamiliar to you, you might not have been swept up in the waves of multiplayer FPS games over the last 10 years. It's hard to define a real first extraction shooter, but the most obvious example is Escape from Tarkov, the popular team-based PvPvE game. Extraction shooters are defined by objective-based gameplay where you and friends are fighting against other players to get a job done. If you've ever waited in line to kill a mob in an MMO, this is like that if you could kill the other players in the line. What really sets the genre apart in other cooperative, objective-based games like Borderlands is the extraction. You are trying to get something and leave safely. Marathon bakes every fiber of this into its gameplay. Your missions are to collect data and resources, kill other runners, test the limits of your shells, or to antagonize the UESC. And every time you die, your consciousness transfers to a new shell. Your existence isn't at risk, but your stuff is. Gear and money are the most important resources on Tau Ceti. You can use the free gear offered by one of the factions, but it'll never be better than something you can buy or take. So your goal for every run will be to get your objectives done and leave with as many things in your pocket as possible. The best stuff you'll find is stolen, taken off other players or USC robots, and dying with good loot means you won't have it next run. At first you'll be able to get everything done with your free kits. Eventually, as the objectives get more difficult, you'll need to start being more careful with your gear or even using a rook. Rook are a special type of shell that allows you to go on solo runs, but this isn't a single player version of Marathon. This is an asynchronous way to get your equipment back so whenever your real world friends have time to play Marathon, you'll have the right gear for it. Your Rook will still be fighting other players, UESC and aliens in Tau Ceti, and going alone means you're a lot less equipped to fight them than they are to fight you. Marathon's slice of its world is vast. As you complete more objectives for its factions, they will give you logs, written context into its world. Optional explorations into what everyone is fighting for here. Your faction leaders will bark orders at you. They see you as useful. It pays to be useful. So, that being said, do I like Marathon? This is a complicated question to ask. I never really played the original Marathon games. By the time I was growing up, the big sci-fi shooters at the time, Deus Ex, Mass Effect, and even Bungie's Halo completely eclipsed the original trilogy in popularity. I have no attachments to these worlds, and I can't say I particularly loved Bungie's previous game, Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is not without its merits. It's a fun game that you can get a lot of hours out of, but its content faulting and its infinite gear grinding feel like it mirrored a lot of issues with modern World of Warcraft. Marathon might sound like it has similar issues with the fact that you're always looking for gear, but it's more like everything you own is transient. It can be out of your hands at any time. You're not grinding for gear level, but you're trying to stockpile the best stuff or get as much money as possible to get better stuff. The reward for your time and effort in risking your items is usually more items, but it can also be item security. The farther you get into factions, the more permanent unlocks and gifts you get from them. Speaking of factions, they are both the best and worst part of the game. You're allowed to only pick up a single mission for every run of Marathon. This might sound like it would take a while to get progress, but actually the more successful an individual run is, the quicker you'll progress in the long run. Despite being named after a human colony ship, Marathon 2026 takes the metaphor of a marathon pretty seriously. This means you'll progress quickly with 6 starting factions if you are good, if you have lucky runs, if you have good gear, if you have good teammates. I think what falls flat with me is the portrayal of the factions. Usually you're represented with a leader of some kind. You'll first meet Oni, an AI representative of the Cyber Acme Corp, ironically with the same name as the 2001 anime-inspired Bungie game. Every computer in Marathon runs on Cyber Acme, which is bloated to the point of becoming like if Microsoft Windows became so dominant in not only PC but mobile operating systems that Cortana was the first face that you saw when you purchased any new device. Oni is definitely the most helpful out of the faction leaders, welcoming you to Tau Ceti and introducing you to other faction leaders, but Cyber Acme ironically takes a while to actually learn about. And this highlights some of my biggest issues with factions. Most of these factions are obviously terrible, evil megacorporations, but the representatives range from overly friendly to boards of wood, with some exceptions. Here's a board of wood. Gaius from New Caloric. Gaius is an AI representing New Caloric, a faction that was the major food supplier for the collapsed colony on Tau Ceti. You gather data and retrieve information for him and learn more about the supposedly caring megacorporation that basically monopolized food. But I don't know if I could say a single thing about Gaius's characterization other than a passingly pleasant corporate representative. Compare this with Gauntry from Maida, a political party turned terrorist group hundreds of years ago, now seeking to free Tau Ceti from the UESC and megacorporations. Gauntry is aggressive, and a lot of his missions involve attacking UESC and destroying property. I would not describe Marathon as a cyberpunk game or even aesthetic. If anything, it's like corpo punk, and Gauntry's personality and appearance really sell this game's story for me. Whereas most of the corpos are telling you what you want to hear, Gantry's giving it to you straight. Tau Ceti is dying, we shouldn't be here, let's smash up everything we can and stick it to the corporations. Speaking of Gauntry, an important aspect of this game is its visual identity. Marathon's a very striking game, especially for a game funded by Sony, who despite having mini-games with some wild visual styles, have mostly played it safe over the last 10 years, ever since shutting down Japan studios. A huge note has to be placed on this section. A good amount of the visual aesthetics have been confirmed to be stolen directly from Scottish artist Anti-Real. Entire assets. And let's be real, the entire game's visual identity was lifted wholesale from Anti-Real. A few months before the release of Marathon, Anti-Real met with Bungie and did a full look at every asset within Marathon, became a visual design consultant for Marathon, and said that the matter was completely resolved. Either way, it's not a good look. It is one thing borrowing design cues from an artist or a franchise, but Marathon, a game made by Bungie, a subsidiary of Sony, a multi-billion-dollar megacorp of its own, taking design inspiration and assets directly from a smaller creator is not cool at all. And the worst part is, Marathon is not just one stolen aesthetic. The best part of the factions, in my opinion, are the different art styles each one of them have. Maida's striking punk style, Arachne's stark oppressive imagery, and even New Caloric, who I didn't connect with as a faction, still has this amazing sci-fi clean corporate aesthetic. Marathon is a game about vultures circling around the same prey, and the way these factions and aesthetics clash visually but still feel cohesive is a work of art, but one that did more than borrow. Just like in the game, some of its best stuff was stolen, and that gives me some level of pause praising it. Yes, it's better than using AI, I guess. At least we know who it was taken from, and eventually she was compensated and credited for it. But a company that made a franchise that sold over 81 million units, and its parent company, a juggernaut in the film, music, and consumer electronics sphere, should not be able to just do this. Really, my biggest praise of Marathon is how its loop feeds into itself. It's a compelling marriage of gameplay and narrative and wears the genre proudly. But if you aren't into extraction shooters or don't have 2 other friends, I can imagine Marathon not clicking for you. But it represents a pretty conscious shift into the multiplayer sphere. Although more long-form multiplayer games still exist, extraction-based one-and-done gameplay is becoming more of the norm. Your adventures on Tau Ceti are novel, but they're not entirely new. They're the result of a virus that split off years ago. Extraction horror is a term I'd use to describe the current wave of multiplayer games that have been getting huge on Steam and YouTube. Content Warning, R.E.P.O, and Lethal Company are some of the big recent success stories in the genre. Its exact origin is a little bit murky, but if I had to take a stab at it, I think its first major success was the indie ghost hunting game Phasmophobia, which has a lot of similarities with modern extraction shooters. You have currency and resources, you lose resources when you die, and you acquire currency to replace said resources with successful runs. But where extraction horror became more obviously defined was Lethal Company, the indie horror game where you and some friends grab whatever items you can from deserted facilities on distant planets to afford an increasing company quota. Whether or not you've played any of these games, you know it when you see it. Multiplayer games where you collect as much stuff or information as you can before the risk becomes too much and you either bolt or you die. Often derogatorily referred to as friend slop. I don't exactly like this term. The older I get, the more limited my time becomes. I work a full-time job and also work on YouTube videos. My time can often get split between being able to spend time with people I care about or any other fun thing I could do to ease the stress of existence. So if I can spend some time with friends and do something fun, it feels like two birds, one stone. This isn't a real replacement for single-player horror games, but it isn't attempting to be. Believe me, I'm aware as a person who runs what is basically a horror channel on YouTube, I should probably play some major single-player horror games, your Silent Hills or Resident Evils, but you guys told me to go play Pokemon Emerald, so I can do that first, right? I can do that first, right? To be honest, horror games do affect me a lot more than novels or films. A lot of my favorite films are horror films, so there is a level of disconnect there. It's not often where a horror film stops me dead in my tracks, and I have to say, wow, that's scary. However, horror games are putting you in the driver's seat and telling you to floor it, run, hide, scrounge around if you can, but there will always be something more powerful than you. This is what really caught my eye about the new extraction horror game by Itamu, Mama's Sleeping Angels. Mama's Sleeping Angels is a stylish extraction horror with a lot of key traits of the genre. You and some friends are in scary locations trying to take back items, in this case cursed objects, for an oppressive benefactor, in this case Mama! However, what they do with cursed objects in Mama is what I find interesting about Sleeping Angels.
Oh, hi bye. Hi bye.
Cursed objects can be banes on your existence. Some of them will alert or create enemies, but some of them will provide helpful effects or generate allies. You will feed these cursed objects to a scale, and once you reach the limit, it will cut off a statue's head. From here, if you end the dream, all your friends will return regardless of being alive or not, and you'll need to feed Mama your cursed objects. Mama is represented as a statue, but when feeding her, she breaks the statue's face to reveal a giant gaping mouth. She's honestly scarier than a lot of enemies you'll see. Speaking of which, as easy it is to define Sleeping Angels as an extraction horror, it borrows a lot of elements from games like Yumaniki and LSD Dream Emulator, while also giving you the means to fight back against monsters. Think about it this way, in similar titles you can fight back against enemies with static bad weapons, or purchase stronger weapons that are costly to use. Sleeping Angels has no way to purchase good weapons, so all your means to fight back will be in the level, and oftentimes a lot of them are good. Chainsaws, submachine guns, sniper rifles, and more are scattered throughout these levels, most of which do solid damage with the caveat that they can break at any time. Everything is transient, there is no money, just your friends, the monsters, the objects, and imaginary friends.
Oh no. Oh my god, what the fuck is... Hey, can you guys look at my stream?
The imaginary friends is one of the most novel ideas in this game. In the 6 levels, there are 2 imaginary friends each to find. Imaginary friends will text you on your phone when you're close to them, and finding them is required to beat the game's story. However, a lot of them are well hidden or hard to reach.
Oh my god, climbing girlfriend's tower is a little bit harder than I thought it would be.
The girlfriend tower? Pretty hard to climb, buddy.
Maybe for you, but an expert in the... Jesus Christ.
And can be more terrifying than many of the monsters you'll fight. If you talk to them, you'll get them to return to your home base, Grandma's house. Grandma's house is not a safe place. A lot of extraction horror games will have a hub of sorts, a place where you and your friends can talk and go to the bathroom or in for the night. Grandma's house is intentionally as threatening as the dreams you go inside, or at least feels like it.
Guys?
I'm just gonna order them to your house.
Guys?
I'm gonna go to the place that I ordered.
There's something in the oven.
There's a certain fear, at least sentiment, I get from Mama's Sleeping Angels, and especially Grandma's House. It's difficult to describe a sentiment like this. Incredibly latent, but not sleeping, waiting, dreaming of the day it boils up again. When you're young and have less life experience, huge change can feel like the end of the world, and your lack of worldly experience can often attribute unique feelings and life moments for universal ones. This feeling I got from Mama's Sleeping Angels is something I've really only gotten in real life in the 2022 film Skinamarink. Skinamarink is one of those films that either breezes past you or hits you like a brick. It hit me like a brick. Baked in a forever twilight in the darkest house imaginable, two children navigate a windowless, doorless house where it feels like things could go back to normal at any time. And even if everything is wrong, it doesn't feel out of place. Old cartoons, Technicolor and shining through a CRT bake the room in the only light it'll ever see, staring at the ceiling trying to fall back asleep. Something in the dark wants to hurt you, or already has, but you'll never comprehend its form or motivations or if it's even real. I think a lot of my experience with fear over the years gets conflated with anxiety, but I can understand anxiety. In fact, anxiety requires understanding, but fear of something you don't know or understand that feels immaterial to you. I used to wake up early in the morning, earlier than everyone else. I'd stare at the ceiling or watch TV or just sit with my thoughts. Even if a second, a minute, an hour is a fixed interval of time, time feels different the younger you are, both from not having a fully developed brain, but also just from a lack of experience. Of course, a month feels like a month when you've lived hundreds of them, but when you've lived under 100, they feel longer, more meaningful. Time with yourself is an eventuality, but Skinamarink's eternal night feels personal to me. Skinamarink is all atmosphere, all dread, barely any payoff, and that in a lot of ways encompasses both of these games. An advantage of the medium of games is controls. You are role-playing a digital facsimile of a person, a character in a time of their life. In Marathon, you're a runner. Your consciousness pilots a shell. In Mama's Sleeping Angels, you're a dreamer, some sort of teenager or young adult that runs errands for Mama and lives at Grandma's house.
Dancing. You can do dancing. If you do 3, you can do 6, 7, 6, 7.
Hungry statue-faced Mama cracks her exterior, revealing a giant gaping maw, eating all your cursed objects. She gets angry. She gets increasingly hard to please. One day, instead of food, you might feed her own heart. She scares me.
Oh, what is that image? What is that image? Oh my god. Did you guys hear the music? Why are there hands on me?
But Grandma's house is safe. No one's ever home. It's just you and your friends staying up later than you're supposed to, playing in the neighborhood, and comforted in your disquiet safety. However, Grandma's house is familiar, even if it's weird. It's the same house every time. The bathroom is the same. The arcade basketball game is the same. The scary landline phone is the same. The neighborhood full of weapons meant to kill your friends is the same. The only thing that can change is the people that you bring back. But every dream location is different every time you have a new run. The featureless suburbs are full of cursed objects and people or things that look like people, trying to kill you. Towers towards the sky of common items hide imaginary friends and goods. You can't get used to the garish gray mall's layout. If you can't feed Mama, it'll be different next time. The cornfields shift. The museum contorts, and their interiors reconfigure every run. Randomized 3D spaces in extraction games isn't anything new, but as a person who can visualize 3D spaces in games better than I can a lot of real places, Mama's plays a trick of memory for me every time. I've stared at its ceilings, and its ceilings shifted. And this is the part that resonates with me about Mama's compared to other games, its familiarity. I love Yumaniki and LSD Dream Emulator, but those games contain places and motifs that aren't in my dreams, or really any average person's dreams in the world, and thus feel disconnected to me in a way that Mama's does not. If you have a PC, I do recommend Mama's Sleeping Angels compared to other extraction horror games, mainly because even though it is a genre defined by its disposability, it's the one that feels the most lived in, the most experienced, the most like me and its author could speak as equals. It would also cost literally the same to get yourself and 3 friends each copies of Mama's Sleeping Angels as it would a singular copy of Marathon. However, I don't know if either are necessarily forever games. Marathon's live service model means it'll get updated until it's not popular anymore, Quick editor's note on this one. Sony recently had announced that they had $765 million of impairment loss from the Bungie deal. Apparently, Marathon did not do nearly as good as they thought it would do. So I'm not exactly sure how that will affect the lifetime of the game, but it doesn't look very good. But there's only so much you can get out of its trip-fed story and its infinite loot grinding. Despite being an activity you can do with your friends, there's no digital space for your friends to hang out and talk before missions. I know it's for streamlining the experience, but if Mama's has Limsa Lominsa, I wish Marathon had Orgrimmar. Social experiences guide social games. If you've ever played a game like either of these, you'd understand the feeling of playing with different people guides your own perception of it. A game is a series of interesting choices, just like a conversation is a series of interesting choices. And the best moments in multiplayer games you might have are moments that feel like your own. One of my favorite videos I edited was Devin's Lethal Company video, one of my proudest moments in my early career. As of writing, it literally only has 83 views.
How do you kill the slimes?
That slime is fully in our way. Okay.
I don't really know. There's something scary over that way.
Oh, there is something scary over there. Hey, Pablo, you can hear me, right? There is something giant and scary down there.
Giant?
Like humanoid and like 9 feet tall.
I'll find it.
Okay, it's all the way down this.
I saw it again.
Yeah.
What's its number?
I'm blocking you.
But what strikes me about it is how crystallized that experience feels, and how that recording session could only exist with the exact people that we had there. You don't remember every run you've done of any game like this. You remember a stupid joke you told, or your friend trying to scare you. And games like these act more of a social meeting ground where things happen. Your choices in gameplay lesser, but your social decisions greater. Marathon unfortunately undervalues this. I don't want to give the idea that I don't like Marathon. Its gameplay and its story are married in a way that other games can only dream of. Its aesthetics are sharp, and despite me saying this game is 4 times that of Mama's, I have sunk 4 times the amount of time into it as well. But I know some people will complain wanting more for not liking something. That's the biggest critique of my videos, and I get it. But wanting more out of an experience you enjoy is part of living it. Media deserves to be interrogated, to be engaged with, to be dissected. And because of this, games like these are difficult to quantify in reviews. Of course, your Marathon experience is different than mine. I had a 3-sec at all times, except for recording Rook footage for this video. Of course, your Mama's experience is different than mine. We might be scared by the same things, and we definitely don't have the same friends or even layouts for levels we played. The future for extraction games is never really going to be in question because time is limited, and while it hurts me to call these games disposable, like all experiences, time will erode these from popular consciousness, like waves covering the sand. And for what it's worth, if this is the future of extraction games, Friend Slop's going to be on the menu for a while.